Annyeonghaseyo, all my beautiful people. Welcome to the alternate point of view. Thank you so much to everyone who's been watching this channel, keeping this channel going, keeping it growing. I greatly appreciate you so much. I thank you. I appreciate all of your patience in waiting for videos to come out. I know a lot of you know that I have been very ill, and I still want to get this content out to you because it is really important for you to hear some of these stories. Some of these stories maybe you've never heard. Some of them you have, but you don't know all of the things. So I want to get this story out because there's a lot of moving parts, okay? This story is about the Hollywood Ripper and how this person was able to continue his crazy serial killer journey and just horror trail of tragedy because of who? None other than Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson. And how in the world would these guys have anything to do with the Hollywood Ripper? Well, I'm going to tell you how. And then in the midst of all of this, we're going to be able to sprinkle a little PDiddy into this. So, well, I'll tell you why I wanted to be talking about this, why I'm so interested in this. And it is A, because I'm a crime storyteller, and because I was involved a little teeny tiny bit on the very outskirts, well, let's say the scum on the bottom of the shoe of the Hollywood industry, because all I ever wanted to be when I was growing up was an actress. And I dabbled in it for a little while, and now I see and have seen, God has shown me the way, the truth, and the light, that is not where I should be. But imagine yourself as a young person, and you are throwing caution to the wind, and you are taking your life, uprooting your life, and you're taking yourself to Hollywood, and you are going to be rubbing shoulders and elbows and everything with people that may one day be famous or are already famous. And that is exactly what happened with Ashley Ellerin. Ashley Ellerin, who was a young girl who was trying to make it and make her way in Hollywood, also at the same time that Ashton Kutcher was trying to make his way in Hollywood. We're at a party one night, and they meet each other. And unfortunately, though, the two of them, who were highly attracted to each other at this party, were dating other people. So anyway, nothing happened, but a year later, they would meet again at another party, and Ashton would remember her. And by this time, Ashley Ellerin's dreams were not going as she had planned in Hollywood. She was a dancer, nothing wrong with that, but she was paying the bills and she was living in Hollywood Hills. So, you know, and Ashton asked her out, and Ashton actually asked her to an Emmy party. Like, what? Who wouldn't want to go to an Emmy party, right? So, of course, she says yes. So, Ashton takes her out, or offers to take her out, and she's getting ready, and she's thinking this is great because by this point, Ashton Kutcher is on that 70s show, the show that we all know and loved at the time, right? So Ashton Kutcher is supposed to take her out. He's supposed to meet her at her house, pick her up around 8 o'clock the night of this Emmy party, and he shows up at her house, not at 8 o'clock, not at 9 o'clock, but let's say around 10 o'clock. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you were that late, I don't care who you are, there is no longer a date. We don't have a date. But how does this all play in to the Hollywood Ripper? Well, due to Ashton's lateness, Ashley Ellerin, who was getting ready for her date with Ashton, was home for those 2 hours getting ready. Now, don't get me wrong, girls are late all the time. They're getting dressed, they're getting ready, they're doing their hair, all the things, right? Well, Ashton gets to her house. He walks up to the door, you know, like a dude, being late, thinking it's okay. And he knocks on her door and no one answers. Now, according to Ashton's story on the stand in court, by saying he would tell the truth under oath, he knocked on her door. She didn't answer. He peered through the window and he saw what he thought to be was red wine spilled on the carpet. And he didn't want to look like a creepo, so he left. And he thought she was just mad at him for being late, 2 hours late. So he left and went on ahead to the Emmy party. But, as I always say, the data doesn't lie. The data never lies. It never ever does. It's always there, you guys. So, what actually happened was that Ashton actually walked in to her house because he wanted to see if she was there. He did peer into the window, and what did Ashton see? Ashton saw blood on the carpet, and Ashton saw a nude body. Ashton goes into the house. He sees Ashley Ellerin's body on the floor. He sees that she was in the midst of getting ready, but he finds her nude body still laying on the floor, half wrapped in a towel, and her hair stuff in the bathroom. And he apparently did touch her body to see if she was dead or alive. Ashton freaks out, runs out of the house, closing the door, goes to his car, calls his agent, and none other than his bestie, Danny Masterson, who is in the Church of Scientology. Now, we all know how crazy the Church of Scientology is. Now, Ashton is outside of Ashley Ellerin's home for another hour, sitting out in his car, trying to figure out, what do I do? What do I do? Do I call the cops? What do I do? If I call the cops, they're going to think I did it. Oh my gosh, what do I do? So what does Danny Masterson say in his wisdom? What does his agent say in all of his wisdom? Go to the Emmy party. Act like you have been there the whole time. Let's get our story straight. You knocked on the door, she didn't answer, you thought she was mad at you, you left, you went to the Emmy party, show your face, be at the party, yada, yada, yada. So, this causes the Hollywood Ripper to walk free. Now, no one knew at this time that this Hollywood Ripper person was the one that killed Ashley Ellerin. But at this point, 22-year-old Ashley Ellerin has now been murdered. Danny Masterson has informed Ashton to not be involved, and they have now had this secret for all of these years. So let's talk about Ashley. Ashley was 22 years old. She's described as a vibrant, bubbly person. She was very popular, incredibly outgoing and attractive and super lively. She went out on a lot of dates. I mean, she's in Hollywood. She was a student at LA's Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, and she attended the semester in the fall of the year 2000. As a part-time job, she worked at the Las Vegas Strip as an exotic dancer. During that time, she met a boy named Ashton Kutcher. And of course, as I said, he was on the famous show that That 70s Show. And as we all know, he was a pretty big name at the time. And that year, they decided to go on that date, that fateful night. So what happens? The 2 hours that Ashton is late. The 2 hours that Ashton is late gives the Hollywood Ripper, Michael Garguilo, the opportunity to go into her home and murder her. So this is what happened because Ashton was late and because Ashton sat in the car outside for an hour getting this wonderful advice from Danny Masterson to go to the Emmy party and show his face and act like he'd been at the party the entire time. This person was able to go on and murder 2 more people. Another girl by the name of Trisha Pacasio, who is also a popular girl, but not in a mean way. She had a lot of friends. She was friends with everyone. She was a high school graduate. She was friends with the nerds and the jocks and the cheerleaders. And she would also be murdered by this man with 12 stab wounds and a broken arm. And she would have DNA, but at the time, DNA was not a thing. So we were still brand new. So they would have her body until they would find out that it belonged to Michael Garguilo. So they realize that there's this connection between this guy. And then the next thing you know, Michael Garguilo goes on to attack and kill yet another woman, a 17-year-old in Hollywood. So he's gone all the way from Chicago to Hollywood and killed more. And he gets to Ashley Ellerin. Then on the night of 2001, he decides to get Ashley Ellerin on that February 8th fateful night of 2001. And then on the 22nd of February, that is when he finds Ashley Ellerin, where she is stabbed 47 times with 12 wounds considered to be fatal, all on their own. So this guy is an angry, angry, angry man. Angry. So Ashton recalls that he was scared when he was cross-examined the next day, but he was afraid he would be a suspect. He wasn't, because he was Ashley's friends asked him, the police, to look for a suspicious acquaintance. They called Mike the Furnace Man. So Michael Garguilo, apparently people knew about him, but no one knew right away that it was him. So Michael Garguilo was known around the neighborhood as a super helpful guy, but he was kind of creepy because he was overly like, hey, do you need some help? I can do this. I can work on this for you. But no one was able to really pin anything on him. So the next person that would come up would be Maria Bruno, which was actually someone who lived near Michael Garguilo as well. And this would be someone who moved into a new complex just 10 days before she died. And this would be someone who would also have gotten some help from this Mike Garguilo guy, who was a weird guy. Everyone kept saying he was a weird guy. And he had a lot of red flags because he would talk to women, say he could help them out, do things for them. And this guy knew Maria, and he was really into women with big breasts, he said. So despite all these clues, despite all of these comments, no one connected the dots still. Okay. So then again, we have Michelle Murphy, who also lived in the area in Santa Monica. And she was 26. And she would sometimes see a neighbor around passing by, and he would wave at her, and she would think nothing of it. She'd wave back. Well, the night of April 28th, 2008, now remember, 2001 is when Ashley Ellergan was murdered. And then just a few months later, a couple days, well, actually 10 days later, you saw Maria would be murdered. And then we have in 2008, now I don't know, there could be more victims because this is a long stretch of time to 2008, 2001 to 2008. So I feel like there might be more victims that we don't know about. But she is in her bed at 10:30 and she wakes up less than an hour to a hooded figure standing over her. And before she could make sense of anything that was going on, this guy just starts stabbing her out of nowhere. And he gets her in the chest and the arm and the shoulder. And the next thing you know, somehow she manages to kick him hard enough that he fell to the floor and he ran out the door. So the thing is that he cut himself and left his blood everywhere. So that led finally to his arrest. So at that time, he was working as a plumber in the area. So he had a wife. And his wife said that he was at home. So, but this led to his arrest. So he attempted to kill another woman. Now, here's the thing. He accidentally slips out incriminating evidence, things that the detective, was saying there were 10 dead women and his DNA was present on all of the crime scenes of the crime. And he said that didn't make him guilty. Now, this is problematic because it could mean the guy had more victims. Like I said, 2001 to 2008 is a long period of time for a serial killer to not have any more victims. But because Garguilo admitted that he had more victims, but he won't say who they are, you can't convict him of anyone else's murder because we don't know who else he's linked to. Sorry. So the media went crazy calling him the Hollywood Ripper, the Chiller Killer, all kinds of names. And then his case finally went to trial in 2019. Michelle Murphy was the key witness. But the court also called Ashton Kutcher. Now, remember, if you look back at clips of Ashton Kutcher on the stand, Ashton Kutcher, by this time in 2019, he's a huge star. He's been married to Demi Moore. He's also started a sex trafficking organization to help stop sex trafficking, which, by the way, he and Mila Kunis have stepped away from as of September of 2023. We'll get to that later. Because, he gets on the stand. He says this. Now, Ashton Kutcher is part of Scientology. They say he's not exactly a member of Scientology. He's just kind of guilty by association because of Danny Masterson. But he does follow some of the in crowd of Scientology, like Tom Cruise, Danny Masterson. But he says that what really happened that night he showed up, he actually opened the door. Now, he does say he opened the door. He walked in and saw the body. He knew she was dead, and he ran out and freaked out in the car. He called a lot of members of his team and figured out what to do. And so his team basically told him not to report anything. They told him to go to the party so people could see him. He said, you see, he was still an upcoming actor, and this was bad for his image. I mean, people would forever associate him with it and it would ruin his career. So guess who was the one people he called? Danny Masterson, right? Like we talked about in the beginning. Now, how did this hinder the investigation? Duh. Because Ashton lied, it was used to create reasonable doubt. This is why Michael Garguilo was not prosecuted. Sadly, the police knew Ashton couldn't see anything from outside on the carpet. I mean, the only way to see the carpet was if you were actually inside. If he called the police instantly, Garguilo would be prosecuted and he wouldn't have killed again. And God knows how many people he actually killed. So, since Scientology members are so well connected, the president of the community, Danny Masterson, so many people knew it, this was why they have each other's back. So even though he finally fessed up to the fact that he, in his original statement said, I didn't go in, I just knocked on the door, she didn't answer, I looked in the window, saw what I thought was red wine, thought she was, mad at me and drank and passed out. I left, went on to the party, blah, blah, blah. When he says he went in, but the actual evidence shows that he did actually have to have seen her body and touch her body, because evidence shows that someone touched the body. Okay. There are also evidence that shows that there are steps after, the blood pattern. That's what it shows. But Ashton has no alibi, so it's understandable, supposedly, that he didn't want to admit his involvement in the case. But it really did hinder the investigation, okay? It really hindered the investigation into this Michael Garguilo guy, because everyone was saying this guy's name. His name kept coming up, and all the neighbors kept saying this guy is weird. This weird guy in the neighborhood, and also, had Ashton been on time, would Ashley still be alive? But regardless of that, regardless if Ashton was late, okay, never mind that. But this is why Hollywood, Hollyweird, cares more about their image. And this is why they're so narcissistic. And this is why that he even said himself, it would mess up his image. It would ruin his career to have his name linked to a murder when he was an up-and-coming actor. So he didn't say anything. Instead of saving other women's lives, instead of seeing it as this could have saved these other women's lives. And you see, there's no penalty to Ashton Kutcher, right? No one looks at Ashton Kutcher and goes, oh my gosh, you could have saved who knows how many women's lives. You let this guy out on the streets and never caught for 7 years. No one said that. No one has ever said that. Then his bestie, Danny Masterson, is put in prison for rape, and you write a letter, you and your wife write a letter to the judge asking for a lower sentence for your friend because he's a good father and he has a daughter. Never mind all the women that he raped, and he's convicted of that. He's been found guilty. Innocent until proven guilty, so it's no longer alleged. The man is a rapist. Scientology didn't save him. The Church of Scientology tried every tactic that they could to save Danny Masterson and get him out of this hole that he dug himself into. And Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis wrote letters to the judge and begged the judge to give him as light of a sentence as possible so that he could be home to be with his daughter. And then they sent out a piss-poor apology out to the public, this terrible apology to the public, saying they're sorry that their letter offended anyone, that it wasn't meant for the public to see. It was only meant for the judge. So they're still defending Danny Masterson, the rapist. And then these are the very same people. Now, Ashton started this organization, this foundation, with his wife, ex-wife Demi, to help with sex trafficking children, to stop sex trafficking children. I am very passionate about the ending of sex trafficking children. I will be in a film this year called E40S. Every 40 seconds, a child is sex trafficked in this world, and you can look up our website, the website. Chong Kim is her name. It's her life story, actually. Chong Kim is the writer, director. She is everything. She is a survivor, and you can look up her website, E40S. I will leave it in the description below, but I am very passionate about sex trafficking of any kind, of any sort. It happens to not just children, it happens to women, it happens to men, and then we go into PDiddy. Now, you see what all is happening with PDiddy. PDiddy and Ashton Kutcher are friends. They were friends back in the day. People in Hollywood don't make it in Hollywood because they are talented. Now, do they become talented? I will tell you who is talented. Denzel Washington's very talented. He is professionally trained. That man is talented. I will say that when you see pictures of people like P. Diddy and Justin Bieber is a very talented kid. And I will say I pray for him every day because people are giving him so much crap because he has turned his life to God and he has found himself a better path. And people are hating on him for that. And I hate that now Christianity is getting more hate than I think I have ever seen in my lifetime. And it is because, of people like Justin Bieber, who is trying to change his life and turn himself around because of the abuse he took from people like P. Diddy. And because of the way that he was taken advantage of from people like P. Diddy. Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis. Mila Kunis was only 14 when she was on that 70s show. And she was basically sexually assaulted by grown-ups, adults. Danny Masterson was an adult. And Ashton Kutcher was an adult. All of those people were adults. All of these things coming out now from Nickelodeon, Disney. Look at Britney Spears. God bless her soul. The things that these people have gone through because their parents wanted them to be famous, because the kids thought they wanted to be famous, and fame is not what all you think it is. It's not. You are selling your soul to the devil. And you see that Ashton Kutcher is now trying to break away from P. Diddy because he doesn't want the same situation that he had with Danny Masterson. But he is going to be called. He has already been called, and he is on the list for P. Diddy. Because everyone who's ever got a picture with P. Diddy is going to be called with P. Diddy. But now Ashton is talking about this autoimmune disease he's had in 2022 that left his memory kind of messed up. Couldn't see, couldn't walk, all these things. So he's going to use that to his advantage for this P. Diddy situation, even though he didn't seem to have that problem with Danny Masterson. I'm not saying that, Ashton Kutcher isn't sick, okay, or didn't have any type of issues. I'm not trying to say that because I don't ever want to discredit anyone's illness because, I know how that feels. But I would say that people in Hollywood have some serious issues. And the things that they do to minors that don't know the difference and don't understand what's going on, which is much like what's going on in our world today, is very, very sad. And I think that Ashton Kutcher, what goes around comes around, and what's happening in his life by letting Ashley Ellergan die, and I'm sorry, I say how I feel about things on here, but he was 2 hours late for their date. 2 hours. That 2 hours could have saved her life. And if it was meant for him to find her, if God meant for him to find her that way, he should have called someone. He should have called the police, because not only did he not save her life, he didn't save the other women's lives after. So him making the foundation with Demi Moore to stop child sex trafficking, he probably thought that that was his way of redeeming himself. But then he supported a rapist, and that nixed out the whole redeeming yourself with the child sex trafficking. Okay. So, I will say this, Ashton Kutcher, all these Hollywood elites, all these Hollywood stars that are getting up there accepting awards for all their wonderful work that they're doing, which is nothing now but remakes and redos and comebacks of old shows that we miss that will never be the same. They're never going to be like the originals. So stop doing it. There are plenty of talented writers out there. There are plenty of stories that can be told out there that are not being told because there are too many people out there trying to remake and reinvent the wheel when they don't need to. So stop that. Also, the same actors are in everything. But I do recall people getting up, accepting their Oscars and their Academy Awards and thanking and kissing the butt of Harvey Weinstein when they won those awards, and how wonderful Harvey Weinstein was, and how great of a man and how awesome he was for putting them in their films, and just, oh, what a great man he was. And then they were the first ones when they got super famous, and after they won those awards, to call him out as a rapist and a horrible person. Look, let me tell you something. Have some more self-respect. You chose that path. You chose to do what you did with that man, that gross, disgusting man. You chose that so that you could become famous and you could stand there and worship false idols. That's what you did. And that, my people, is why I stepped away from Hollyweird, because no, I will never, ever, never, never give myself to anyone so that I can stand on that stage and win an award that means nothing, that will suck my pride away, or that will make me a DEI hire, or that will put me in a position where I am not given something because I deserve it. I want it because I earned it and I deserved it. And I am working on a film that is being backed by not Hollyweird. No, this is an independent, hardworking. We're raising funds for this film because we believe in it and because it is true. And this is real life. So Ashton Kutcher caused the death of many, many more women after Ashley Ellergan. God rest her soul. She was 22 years old and didn't deserve to die. She didn't have to die. If Ashton Kutcher was on time for their date and wasn't so full of himself and cared less about his ego and his image, she would be alive. And even if he had found her the way he found her, other women would be alive. So the Hollywood Ripper would not have been able to be the Hollywood Ripper if it weren't thanks to the help of Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson. And PDiddy got to do all the things he got to do because of all the many people around him. So all of these people in Hollyweird get to do all the things they get to do because they are turning a blind eye, and God, our Savior, Lord Jesus, sees it. So that is what I have to say about all of that. And I have another case to come up to you guys with later, and I will be continuing the On the Ranch case. It is very lengthy. There's another case that I have that we'll be talking about soon, and also Chad Daybell's case will be coming up. I have not been covering the jury selection. I find that is just like quite time consuming. So anyway, if you like this content, enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and share. If there is any case or any tragic story that you want to hear about, please leave it in the comments and let me know. I love you guys' comments. I appreciate it so much. Kamsahamnida. I'll see you soon.